from tax reform, and it only came in at 2.5%. So unfortunately, his forecasting hasn't really done too well. But I would love to see a 30% GDP because we had 30% negative GDP in the second quarter.
Well, you know what? Since Stephen had a prediction that whoever wins Michigan wins the election, Robert Wolf, how about a prediction from you?
I love that. Right now, Joe Biden's up about 10% in Michigan, so I'll stick with Steve's forecast on that one.
All right. And I can bet you $1 that we win Michigan.
Hold
I want to reserve two. Steve.
All right. Well, let's see. Just about 2 months from now, somebody's going to be $1 richer. Yeah, this panel right here. You got it. Thank you very much.
Thanks.
All right. Good enough. 25 minutes before the top of the hour, new study linking more than 250,000 COVID cases to the motorcycle rally at Sturgis in South Dakota. But the governor there says that's not science, it's fiction, and she's going to tell you lies.
I'm a performer. Always have been and always will be. Never letting anything get in my way. After doubts, distractions, or voice in my head. And certainly not arthritis. New Voltaire provides powerful arthritis pain relief to help me keep moving. And it can help you too. Feel the joy of movement with Voltaire.
America's biopharmaceutical companies have one very important thing in common: a common enemy. We're making great progress because we're collaborating in ways that we've never done before. In a matter of weeks, we've progressed from potential treatments to antibodies and antivirals that have shown positive results. There's several promising vaccine candidates. Because science is how we get back to normal.
My name is Dr. Roger Bond. I had a practice for about 35 years, and I got to the point where I was getting really tired all the time, and I couldn't walk up stairs without stopping at the top. I just didn't have the energy to keep doing what I was doing. And I talked with Dr. Howard, the formulator of Balance of Nature, and he told me to take a high dose. I began to notice that my energy improved. And my health got to the point where I was able to get back into chiropractic, the thing that I love. I have energy that I haven't had for a long time. And I base all of that on Balance of Nature. I'm an endorser of Balance of Nature because it works. And I share it with my patients in my practice as well.
Balance of Nature is now offering 35% off on any new preferred order. Go to balanceofnature.com today and use discount code FOXNEWS.
Hello, I'm Mike Mandela, inventor of MyPillow. Just like you, I had problems sleeping. I tried every pillow out there and nothing worked. 15 years ago, I invented MyPillow. It took me 2 years to develop because I wanted to have everything you would ever want in a pillow. I made sure that you could adjust my patented fill so you could have the exact support you need as an individual, regardless of your sleep position. I also wanted a pillow that would last, so I made MyPillow machine washable and dryable. I backed MyPillow with a 10-year warranty and a 60-day money-back guarantee. Not only that, I do all my own manufacturing in my home state of Minnesota.
I really like the fact that it was made in the USA. I think that USA products are a better quality product. I've tried a lot of other pillows and nothing's worked like MyPillow.
I'm interrupting this commercial right now to give you deep discounts, not just on my pillows, but also my mattress topper, sheets, and so much more. For example, you can get body pillows regularly $89.99, now only $29.99. On my pillow dog beds for as low as $19.99 with your promo code.
I used to think that sheets were just sheets. I got the Easy Dream sheets. They are the most comfortable sheets I've ever.
The Go Anywhere pillow is so easy to just roll up and take anywhere I want to go. Go Anywhere pillow is really comfortable. So that's what I really like. Nice and supportive and nice and soft.
So my pillow topper, for the first time, enabled me to have a cool night's sleep. I'm able to go to bed and just get rest. That's 3 inches of wonderful. It's in the MyPillow mattress topper. It's just like a firm cloud. MyPillow helps me get a good night's sleep so I can do my job in the morning.
Go to mypillow.com and get deep discounts, not just on my pillows, but so much more. For example, you get body pillows regularly $89.99, now only $29.99, or buy killer dog beds for as low as $19.99 with your promo code.
There's nice sleep in the whole wide world. MyPillow.com.
The media going all in on a new study linking last month's motorcycle rally in Sturgis, South Dakota, to more than 250,000 COVID cases. That is something.
Well, the report calling the rally a super spreading event, but the state's governor says the research is, quote, fiction.
She joins us now. Let's welcome in Governor Kristi Noem. Governor, we saw the numbers. They said use cell phone data to track, to find out who went and what they're experiencing. They say your cases jumped 35%. What's the truth?
Well, that's actually not factual whatsoever. What they did is they took a snapshot in time, and they did a lot of speculation, did some back of the napkin math, and made up some numbers and published them. This study wasn't even done by a healthcare study. It was done by the Institute of Labor Economics, and it's completely untrue. That's what's so frustrating, is I know the media does not like what South Dakota has done. They have deemed me as the governor that made all the wrong decisions by letting my people have freedom, by using personal responsibility. But listen, our people are happy. We've had big events. We have in South Dakota 124 cases that were tied to the Sturgis motorcycle bike rally out of 500,000 people that came. So what they have done here is completely false, and it's unfair, and it's not doing the public service.
Have any other organizations looked at the Sturgis event to figure out whether or not it did spread the disease? Or are you just saying this is the only study out there right now, and they're using pseudoscience to make you look bad?
You know, other states are tracking cases. I think we have 11 other cases that have tracked, people that have traveled to the Sturgis motorcycle bike rally, but it's less than 300 cases, and I think that is really what's wrong with this study that we see that was released that the media jumped all over, is the kind of speculation that they put out there, the inaccuracies are just unfair and not truthful whatsoever. You know, this is what modeling has done throughout the pandemic. On a typical day in the pandemic, the models and the experts all told me I'd have 10,000 people in the hospital on any given day, and I've had less than 100. The vast majority of the days, I have less than 100 people in the hospital today. So we're taking the virus seriously, but we're also recognizing that there's consequences to what we've seen happen in other states, that shutting down businesses, stopping people's way of life has some devastating impacts on them and their ability to put food on the table for their families. So we've taken a very balanced approach in South Dakota. I know the media hates it. I know they're going to continue to come after me and my decision making. They're going to continue to try to destroy South Dakota for what we have done and the path that we've taken. But I still believe that in our state it has worked out for our people, and that they appreciate it. They appreciate the fact that I trusted them, and we have the strongest economy in the nation today. Our people are working. They're taking care of their families, and they recognize that we've weathered this situation much better than the rest of the country.
You know what I think your voters appreciate about you is you don't change. You stick to your guns, and you don't care what anyone thinks, because those are the people that put you in office, and they want you to continue with your issues. One of your issues is the monuments, and a lot of people around the country are saying that if something's offensive, we need to take it down. You're saying just the opposite when it comes to many of our founding fathers and our initial presidents. Tell us about your project. It's called the Capitol Freedom Project.
Yeah, we have watched what's happened across the country with other states tearing down their monuments and their statues to important historical figures, people that were flawed, certainly, but did incredible things during challenging times for this country. We also saw Mount Rushmore be threatened through that movement that was happening. So what I have done is brought forward a project that will facilitate the putting up of statues on our Capitol dome. When our Capitol was built, there was 4 alcoves that were placed there that were intended to hold statues that never happened. So we are privately raising money at freedom.sd.gov to put 4 statues in those alcoves on the outside of our Capitol dome of the 4 men that are on Mount Rushmore, recognizing that while the rest of the country is tearing down our history, South Dakota is going to continue to honor those men and women who led our country to greatness that we enjoy today.
All right, Governor Christine, thanks so much.
Oh, thank you. Appreciate it.
Hope that gets started. Meanwhile, let's go out to Janice Dean. Janice Dean's poised to give us the weather.
Yes, and it's cold in South Dakota. We've got cold temperatures as far south as the southern Rockies. You saw the snow on all of the newscasts yesterday. Freeze advisories and warnings for the Rockies towards the northern plains and the upper Midwest, back through the Great Basin as well. There's that snow still falling in parts of Colorado, moving into areas of Kansas and even western Oklahoma. Temperatures are going to start to moderate over the next couple of days, but certainly below freezing. In Denver, Colorado, the last couple of days will be at 83 on Sunday. So quite a seesaw. There's your forecast today. Along that cold front, we're going to see the potential for showers and thunderstorms, maybe some heavy rain as well. And then across the west, we are still watching wildfire danger, red flag warnings out from the northwest area of the west down towards California and the southwest. We'll continue to monitor all of the above. Back to you, Steve, Ainsley, and Brian.
You have all the weather behind you. All right, Jamie, thank you very much. Meanwhile, quarter before the top of the hour on this Wednesday, and Carly Schimpf is as the headline.
That's right. We're going to start with a Fox News alert. The worst fire season in California history becoming more dire. At least 3 firefighters hurt, 1 critically as they fight the Dolan fire near Big Sur. 25 major wildfires burning through 2.3 million acres. In Oregon, the governor issuing a wildfire emergency, calling this a once-in-a-generation event. Further north in Washington state, flames destroyed nearly 80% of this small farming town. No injuries there are reported. A wounded veteran speaking out after he says he was used as a prop in an anti-Trump ad.
I'm just so irritated that they put my image up there, because now it looks like the president's calling me a loser. And they're using that to sell something that they believe in for their agenda. And I just don't believe that's right to use us that way.
And the ad shows Army veteran Bobby Headline in his military uniform and reads in part, Trump says he's a loser, referring to claims made in the Atlantic. Now, in an exclusive Fox News interview, Headline said he does not believe the president made the remarks and has gotten the ad taken down on several social media accounts. Well, listen to this. There will be no trick-or-treating on Halloween this year. Los Angeles County banning the tradition because of pandemic restrictions. The county says going door-to-door makes it difficult to maintain social distancing. Parties, haunted houses, and festivals also won't be allowed. Car parades and horror movies at a drive-in theater are okay. But still, a big bummer. And last I checked, you do wear a mask.
Yeah, and I heard they couldn't do, they're going to call it trunk or treat, where people use their cars and put candy in the back. You won't even be able to do that. Yeah, I'm against Halloween, so I don't care. It's like it, Brian. I net with little kids. Yeah, but adults should not be celebrating Halloween. It is for kids. It's for their
Right. It is a weird holiday. A lot of evil, but it can be fun.
little bitty.
All right, so NFL. NFL kicking off its new season this week. What can we expect? Former New England Patriots tight end Ben Watson weighs in. Coming up next.
It's your season at Bass Pro Shops in Cabela's. Come in or shop online during our kickoff sale. New NyQuil Severe Honey. It's maximum strength cold and flu medicine with soothing, honey-delicious taste. NyQuil Honey. The nighttime sniffling, sneezing, coughing, making, sucking, and fever. Let's sleep with a cold medicine.
Bill O'Reilly here, and we have another killing book for you. It's called Killing Crazy Horse, the Merciless Indian Torture Guide. This is the 9th, the most successful non-fiction book series of all time. And my publisher says it's the best. Today it's vital to know the truth about your country. Killing Crazy Horse explains how America was born in an exciting way. You stay up late reading Killing Crazy Horse, available now. Ever books are sold.
What makes you you? Yourself. Truly something. That's why Centrum contains 24 key nutrients to support your energy, so you can take care of what matters most. And
try new Century Minis today. Why is Old Dominion #1 in customer satisfaction? Maybe it's our over 99% on time rate, or how we support the dynamic digital marketplace. Our people never stop working to make your shipping easier. Old Dominion, helping the world keep promises.
Mike Pompeo on Fox News at night. Inside Iran's growing nuclear threat. And what needs to be done now to control the country. Shannon has a can't-miss interview tonight.
I was a nurse for over 30 years. I didn't realize that standing all day for my job would cause my legs to ache and swell at the end of the day. The heaviness and the pain in my legs kept me from enjoying activities with my grandchildren. Now that I've had my legs treated at the new company, my grandchildren are keeping up with me. The treatments were in-office, easy, and I was back to my regular activities the next day. And it was covered by my insurance. If this is your story too, don't suffer any longer. Call the Bain Company today.
Do you owe money to the IRS? Listen to how Optima Tax Relief helped these people put their tax debt to rest.
I owe the IRS $102,000. I owe the IRS $66,000. It's a horrible feeling. You know, at some point in time, I knew the IRS was going to be coming looking for me. I was paralyzed with fear. Optima got me settled with the IRS. The team at Optima Tax Relief settled my IRS tax bill. It was every bit of a new lease of life for me to be able to get that burden off my shoulders. They really cleared the path for me to have a fresh start, and I will be forever grateful. I'm still committed to tell the story. Do not believe it. I have paperwork to prove it.
For your free consultation, call 800-854-9177. That's 800-854-9177.
Optima Tax Relief.
Let's get a sample here.
You can't see product damage bacteria, but Rick said with built-in microban antimicrobial product protection, helps keep your hardware cleaner longer. Quick said with microban. Quick said overprotects.
Millions of people are saying yes to Allegra, including the experts. It's the #1 allergist-recommended brand for non-drowsy relief. Allegra works 2 times faster than Claritin, and while Zyrtec may cause drowsiness, Allegra won't. Say yes to Allegra.
Good Wednesday morning to all of you. The latest on the unrest in Rochester as the police chief there and the entire command center leave the force. What the president is saying about that this morning. Plus, 55 days to go to Election Day, and the Wall Street Journal editorial board this morning asks, will the courts pick the next president? Kayleigh McEnany will join us live from the White House on election night expectations. And Joe Biden unveiling his Make It in America plan. Charles Payne here to react. Bill McGurn, Mercedes Schlapp from the Trump campaign, Brett Baer, and more joining us live from America's Newsroom, top of the hour.
The NFL is back, and it's kicking off the highly anticipated season tomorrow night. Players return to the field, and the coronavirus concerns are there. Social justice protests will happen. Here with more on what to expect is former New England Patriots, good friend of the show, Ben Watson. Ben, you got a movie coming out. We're going to hold off on that for a second. First things first, you played with Tom Brady for 7 years. Brady's now with Tampa. The Bucs are 43 years old. Cam Newton's with your old team. Who's going to have a better year? Cam Newton or Tom Brady? Patriots or Bucs?
Well, it's going to be interesting, but you can never bet against Tom Watson. This is a guy who hasn't had a losing season in his entire career as a starter. I don't expect him to start doing that right now. Plus, he's got a big chip on his shoulder. Plus, he's enjoying the beach and the sun. So I'm excited to see what he does down there in Tampa for sure.
Can Cam Newton adjust to Bill Belichick and his system?
So far, it seems that he can. I mean, this is a guy who, has been an MVP. He's a great player. He's been hurt the last few years. I'm really excited to see them this season and see what Cam does in a new system, in a new place, a bunch of new surroundings. But all the clips that I've seen, everything that I've heard coming out of that locker room, he immediately gains respect when he comes in because of what he's done, and also the leader that he is.
And so it certainly sounds like he's happy. How bad was the friction between Belichick and Brady?
I think a lot of that was behind closed doors. I think we're going to hear about it, 20, 30 years from now when they break the tapes open. But what they've done, what they did, clearly for the NFL over the course of the last several decades is unprecedented. And nobody can take that away from them, no matter what happens from here. I know now the story is going to be who's going to win the Super Bowl first and that sort of thing, which obviously we got to talk about. It makes it fun. But what they did together, they were the perfect two people together
at the right time to create the dynasty that they have.
Yeah, maybe they'll both realize that. Ben, you have the release of a brand new movie. It's a pro-life movie. It's called Divided Hearts of America. Give us an idea what we'll see.
Watch this movie. I think you're gonna cry. You're gonna be encouraged. You're gonna be empowered. You're gonna be convicted. Abortion is an issue that strikes at the heart of America. It strikes at the heart of the tenets of our nation. And it's a very divisive issue. You can't talk about it without having some sort of emotion. And so, in light of what has happened with conservative laws, liberal laws, my wife and I, being co-producers, co-executive producers, set out to really interview and hear from the heart of America. We interviewed about 30 to 40 different people, different voices on different sides of this debate, really in an effort to understand how we got here when it comes to abortion laws in America and reproductive rights laws in America. What's going to happen if we continue and where we're going if we don't change some sort of course. And so the biggest thing that I want people to hear, you're going to be educated, you're going to learn, but also this is about human dignity, it's about sanctity of life, it's about empathy, it's about understanding that even though we may disagree on something that is so important, so vital as human life, we need to see the humanity in the other person. We need to look at this debate in a different way than maybe we ever had before. So the official trailer is coming out today. I'm excited to announce we're going to be releasing the movie on digital on sale now on September 17th. So that's next Thursday. You can learn more about the movie and get updates and get involved at DividedHeartsOfAmericaFilm.com. So we're really excited about this. We think that it's going to challenge and also educate America when it comes to the issue of abortion.
Wow. So Ben Watson been retired 9 seconds. Already got a movie out. Congratulations, Ben. So go to DividedHeartsOfAmerica.com for the trailer and next week.
Divided Hearts of America Film. DividedHeartsOfAmericaFilm.com.
All right, so got it. It was on the screen. I just chose not to look at it. My fault. Thanks, Ben. Appreciate it.
I appreciate you guys.
All right. I'll talk to you soon. Meanwhile, more Fox and Friends in just a moment. Don't move.
Who is USAA made for? It's made for this guy, a veteran who honorably served, and it's made for her. She's serving now. We made it for all branches and all ranks, whether they served one tour or made a career of it. We also make USAA for military spouses and their kids. USAA is easy to work with and can save you money on auto, home, and renters insurance. Become a member today. Get an insurance quote at USAA.com/quote. USAA, what you're made of, we're made for.
CoQ10 is the #1 cardiologist recommended heart health supplement for people taking cholesterol-lowering statin drugs. I recommend Qunol CoQ10 because it has 3 times better absorption than regular CoQ10. Qunol is the brand I trust.
I love my babysitter. She laughs when I burp. We got it from care.com.
Go to care.com for great babysitters and nannies with profiles, reviews, and more. It costs less than you think, and we even make it easy to pay. Care.com. If your dry eye symptoms keep coming back, inflammation in your eye might be to blame.
Looks like a great day for achy, burning eyes.
Over-the-counter eye drops typically work by lubricating your eyes, and they provide temporary relief.
These drops probably won't touch me.
Xiidra works differently, targeting inflammation that can cause dry eye disease.
That's it. Xiidra. Yeah!
It can provide lasting relief.
Oh.
Xiidra is the only FDA-approved treatment specifically for the signs and symptoms of dry eye disease. 1 drop in each eye, twice a day. Don't use it if you're allergic to Xiidra. Common side effects include eye irritation, discomfort, or blurred vision when applied to the eye, and an unusual taste sensation. Don't touch a container tip to your eye or any surface. After using Xiidra, wait 15 minutes before reinserting contacts.
Got any room in your eye?
Talk to an eye doctor about twice daily Xiidra.
I prefer you.
Xiidra, not today, dry eye.
People across America trust Nutrisystem because we deliver your favorite foods made healthier right to your door. It's convenient home delivery of delicious meals and snacks to help you stay healthy. We're here for you now. Save 50% on a month of meals delivered to your door, and shipping is free. Plus, get a week of probiotic shakes to support your immunity free. Go online or call 888-980-FIT to save 50% on a month of meals delivered to your door.
Before I was diagnosed by my doctor, I didn't know It turns out I have tardive dyskinesia, a condition that may be related to important medications I take for my bipolar disorder. My fingers moved like they were playing a piano that wasn't there. Tardive dyskinesia can affect different parts of the body. It may also affect people who take medication for depression and schizophrenia. It's a relief to know that today TD is manageable. Learn more at talkabouttd.com.
Hey, Lisa, let me help you with that. You should look into shopping online at Chewy. You could get that big bag of dog food delivered to your door. Check it out. We get all of our pets food and toys. They even have prescriptions. Don't forget about Tucker's new ride.
Get fast free shipping with Chewy.
Are you having trouble keeping track of what's happening? You're not alone.
And there's so much at stake here. What's happening in Washington does affect your family.
My hope is that at the end of the day, we get more than half the country voting.
Democracy 2020. It's in your hands.
I was born in the country, that's what I'll be.
Save cats. Yep, I was not born country, but I love country. Meanwhile, coming up on my radio show from 9 to noon, amongst our guests, Cal Ripken Jr. Agent said he's really good at baseball. He talks about that in his little league, and getting kids back to sports. And General Jack Keane on the Nobel Peace Prize the president's up for, and pulling troops out of Iraq. It's going to be exciting. And you can listen live at BrianKilmeade.com. We will!
Hundreds gathering for the second straight night of protest in Rochester, New York, painting a Black Lives Matter mural on the street where Daniel Prude was restrained by police before his death. All of this coming just hours after the city's police chief stepped down, leaving the police force along with other senior officials amid the controversy over Prude's death. In just a few moments, we'll be speaking to White House Press Secretary Kayleigh McEnany. We'll get her reaction to that, plus the unrest in other major cities across the country. 55 days to go until Election Day. President Trump and Joe Biden are tearing up the battleground states, and Biden heading to Michigan today, a state Hillary Clinton lost 4 years ago. The visit coming just a day after the president campaigned in battlegrounds Florida and North Carolina. Here we go, Wednesday morning. Good morning, everyone. I'm Sandra Smith. Hello, Trace.
Senator, good morning to you. Good morning, everyone. I'm Trace Gallagher. Biden is set to give a speech on American manufacturing as Vice President Pence goes to Pennsylvania to address a pro-life group. The latest polling shows Biden holding a narrow lead in both critical states. President Trump rallying supporters in North Carolina yesterday, where he hammered his Democratic rival on law and order.
My heart is with the hardworking patriots of all backgrounds who build up our communities, not the violent criminals and extremists and agitators and anarchists who burn them down. Next time you see video of screaming far-left maniacs shouting wildly at peaceful Americans, remember this. These are Biden supporters, and if he wins, they will be in charge of your government. As sure as you're sitting there, you'll be taking your monuments down. You'll be taking your statues down. You'll be taking them down.
Let's get to Kristen Fisher. She's live for us on the North Lawn of the White House. And Kristen, what were some of the highlights from last night's rally in battleground North Carolina?
Well, Trace, of all the events, the recent campaign events that President Trump has had in recent weeks, this one looked and felt the most like one of his rallies from back in 2016, with the notable distinction that, as you saw just there, many of the people sitting right behind him were wearing MAGA masks. But if you zoom out a bit, the majority of the people at that outdoor rally were not wearing masks. Now, in terms of substance, last night President Trump really escalated his efforts to make China a central theme in this race by accusing Joe Biden of being a quote-unquote globalist sellout. The president says the former vice president was part of the problem and blamed him for the loss of American jobs in battleground North Carolina.
Took the toughest ever action to stand up to China's pillaging, plundering, ransacking, and rampant theft of North Carolina jobs and U.S. jobs. Joe Biden's agenda is made in China. My agenda is made in the USA.
Now, other attack lines that the president really drilled down on his belief that the Biden administration would fuel even more violence and unrest in some cities across the country. He also accused Biden and his running mate Kamala Harris of being anti-vaccine for questioning the president over his push to get one by Election Day or shortly after. But the Biden campaign is saying that
those accusations are simply not true. They say that both Biden and Kamala Harris are pro-vaccine. They simply want to make sure that it's safe. Trace?
Yeah, Kristen, speaking of Joe Biden, he's in Michigan today. What's on the agenda there?
Yeah, he's in Battleground, Michigan, and he's going to be unveiling his plan to fight for American workers, really trying to counter that message that you heard President Trump making last night, that he's a globalist sellout. So to that end, the Biden campaign says that he's going to be proposing to fix the tax code so that it promotes a made in America future and establishes an offshoring tax penalty. He's also going to promise a series of executive actions in his first week as president, if he wins, to ensure that the government is delivering on its obligation to use taxpayer dollars to buy American products. Clearly, Joe Biden is going to be drawing some big contrast between him and the current president. But Trace, the similarities in language, the similarities to the president's America First agenda, you can't miss it. Trace?
Kristen Fisher, live for us in the White House. Kristen, thank you.
Meanwhile, large crowds gathering in Rochester, New York for the 7th straight night of protests there, painting a Black Lives Matter mural on the street where Daniel Cruz was restrained by police before he died in custody. Just hours earlier, the chief of police stepped down, leaving the force along with other top officials in the wake of the controversy. Aisha Hassan's live here in New York City. So Aisha, who is leading that department now?
Sarah, good morning to you. You know, it's incredible because for a few hours there yesterday, it appeared that no one, not even the mayor, knew who was leading that department. Of course, now we know that the chief of LaRon Singletary, will remain in charge of that department at least through the end of this month. As for why he's leaving, he released a statement to local media there saying, in part, as a man of integrity, I will not sit idly by while outside entities attempt to destroy my character. The events over the past week are an attempt to destroy my character and integrity. The mass exodus comes amid intense criticism and night after night of protests over the death of Daniel Cruz, a 41-year-old man lost consciousness in the hands of police while lying naked with a bag or a hood over his head. He was suffering a mental health emergency when officers found him. He died later in a hospital, and his death was ruled a homicide, but his autopsy did find PCP in his system. Mayor Lovely Warren appeared just stunned as she announced the retirements yesterday, but assured the public the city is in safe hands. President Trump also reacting last night, tweeting in part this: police chief and most of the police in Rochester, New York, have resigned. The Democratic mayor and, of course, Governor Cuomo have no idea what to do. New York State is a mess. No money, high taxes, and crime. Everyone fleeing. November 3rd, we can fix it. Now, all of this comes, incidentally, on the same day a wrongful death lawsuit was filed by Daniel Cruz's estate against the city of Rochester, the police chief, and 13 other defendants. The suit alleges that Chief Singletary misled the mayor by telling her that Cruz died from an apparent drug overdose, not as a result of force used by officers. And by the way, Sandra, Mayor Lovely Warren, she's not named in this lawsuit, but she is facing immense pressure from protesters to also step down to the council, looking into what she knew and when she knew it. Sandra?
Aisha Hassan reporting from New York City this morning. Aisha, thank you. Trace?
Meantime, Dallas Police Chief Renee Hall has also resigned. Her leadership came under fire after officers used tear gas and projectiles, arresting hundreds of people during a peaceful protest earlier this summer. Hall is the first Black woman to lead the Dallas force. She has agreed to stay on through the end of the year.
For more on all this, let's bring in Bill Laverne. He's a columnist for the Wall Street Journal, former chief speechwriter for President George W. Bush, and a Fox News contributor. Bill, I'm going to put a full screen up. It shows police chiefs around the country that have resigned from their forces over the last 3 months, ranging from Portland, obviously, Atlanta, Richmond, Fort Lauderdale, Fort Worth, San Jose, and other places. Now you've got what's happening in Rochester. Not just the police chief, but the entire command center walking away. What does all of this mean, especially less than 2 months out from an election day?
I think it means that they've concluded that they can't do their jobs without the support of their political leaders, and they're not going to do it. You know, remember, people who are senior, they have enough. A lot of them have enough to retire. They're just working some extra years, so they can leave anytime. And this is their vote against how their cities are being led. And I have to ask, who could blame them?
Well, you've got Joe Biden blaming President Trump, making the case that this is all happening under his watch. And Joe Biden is now making the pitch to voters that he's the guy for the job, that he's going to bring calm to these cities, that he's going to control these protests. President Trump is hearing him and responding. Here's the president saying Joe Biden doesn't have the strength to handle the protesters. Listen.
And Joe doesn't have the strength. He doesn't have the mental capability to control these people. They don't have the strength. They don't have I don't think the Democrats have the courage to control these people. They're afraid to even talk about law and order. They can't issue the words law and order. All we want is law and order.
An important point that he makes that, remember, after a week of the DNC, it was pointed out by both sides of the aisle that there was not talk about this unrest. There was not talk about this violence happening. And now Joe Biden is making it a central message of his campaign.
Right. Look, Joe Biden is now saying he's the man for the job that he didn't think existed a week ago, 2 weeks ago during the Democratic convention, and that it's all Donald Trump's fault. Look, you can blame the president for a lot of things, but he's made offers to the governors and the mayors and he's been rebuffed. And what's embarrassing for Joe Biden is, I wouldn't go so far with the president saying these are Biden voters in the streets. I'm not sure they're voters at all. But he's certainly right. These are all Democrat-run cities, not just a Democrat mayor, usually Democrat city councils, Democratic DAs, and so forth, up and down the chain. It's Democrats as far as the eye can see, and that's embarrassing for them. People see this as the Democratic approach to our police and to keeping our streets safe. And he has a good point there. The president's vulnerability is that if he does go in, he's drawn this red line. He has to succeed. He can't go in and not succeed. But I think it's a real stretch to, after all these lectures on localism and federalism, to now say that a problem they didn't think existed before is all Donald Trump's fault. If they thought that before the convention, they would have highlighted it.
Bill, as we pointed out, 55 days to go to election day. You look at some of these key states like Michigan and what is happening there. Rewind first, before I show you what's happening, to 2016 to remind everybody just how close it was between Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton, with President Trump pulling off the victory by a small fraction of a percent there, 10,000 votes or so. And now what is happening there? On July 30th, Bill, the Real Clear Politics average had Joe Biden ahead of President Trump in Michigan by 8 points. Just a month and a half later, that margin has now shrunk to 2.6. So the president is gaining ground there. Can he pull off another victory in Michigan?
I think he can. Look, I think this is all up for grabs. As you mentioned, the biggest thing about 2016 is that the margin of President Trump's victory was very tiny. You know, in Pennsylvania, it was 44,000 votes. I think less than 1% of the voting population. So these are all very thin, and it's a contested race. As you also point out, you know, today there's a lot of headlines about a new poll showing Joe Biden up 9 points in Pennsylvania, which you would assume he considers it his home state. But you know, I looked up earlier, back in 2016 at this time, there was a Franklin and Marshall poll about Pennsylvanians, and it also had Hillary Clinton up 9 points this time. So I don't know that any of these things are fixed. I think it's going to be a knuckle-bearing fight up until the very end for all these marginal voters to get them out.
Whether or not it's actually over on election night. Of course, we're going to talk to Kimmy McEnany about that in just a moment. Bill McGurk from the Wall Street Journal. Thank you.
But more than 85 fires are now burning out west, and California is seeing its worst fire season in modern history, with 25 fires raging there right now. More than 10,000 firefighters are battling flames across the state, including one in the Sierra National Forest, where hundreds of people had to be rescued. In Oregon, the governor issuing a wildfire emergency, calling this a once-in-a-generation event. Meantime, in Washington state, a wildfire destroyed nearly 80% of Malden. It's a small farming town. No injuries were reported.
Fox News alert now, a major drug company pausing its coronavirus vaccine trials. What prompted the suspension, we'll have that for you, plus President Trump making the case that he is the law and order candidate. But is that message resonating with voters. We'll talk about that and more with White House Press Secretary Katie McEnany.
Joe Biden and his party spent the entire summer cheering on the rioters, rampaging through Democrat-run cities, falsely labeling them as peaceful protesters. They were princes and superheroes, coaches, road trip drivers, and shoulders to cry on. They were picture takers, campfire makers. They all lived here, and they still do. When it's time for you to make the best choice for them, you need expert advice. At A Place for Mama, our senior advisors will guide you to the right assisted living, memory care, or home care options for the ones you love.
I know balance of nature helps with kind of the day-to-day illnesses. For myself, the 2 years that I've been on it, I don't even think I've had a cold. Never mind the flu. Not even close to the flu.
Since taking balance of nature, I think that my recovery time has been cut in half. I can work each muscle group, sometimes up to 3 times a week, where most people at the most, maybe twice a week.
My name is Dr. Roger Vaughn. I'm an endorser of balance of nature because it works, and I share it with my patients and my practice as well.
I'm Natasha from New York City, and I'm a balance of nature queen. I used to be a walker, but I gained weight. When I started balance of nature, I was walking about 3,000 or 4,000 steps a day. That's nothing. Now I'm not going to go as much as up to 14.
Balance of Nature is now offering 35% off on any new preferred order. Go to balanceofnature.com today and use discount code FOXNEWS. If you have moderate to severe psoriasis, little things can become your big moment. That's why there's Otezla. Otezla is not a cream. It's a pill that treats plaque psoriasis differently. With Otezla, 75% clear skin is achievable. Don't use it if you're allergic to Otezla. It may cause severe diarrhea, nausea, or vomiting. Otezla is associated with an increased risk of depression. Tell your doctor if you have a history of depression or suicidal thoughts, or if these feelings develop. Some people taking Otezla reported weight loss. Your doctor should monitor your weight and may stop treatment. Upper respiratory tract infection and headache may occur. Tell your doctor about your medicines and if you're pregnant or planning to be. Otezla, show more of you.
As a real estate agent, I've learned it's excess moisture that causes musty odors. Pro tip, use Damfred. Damfred drop-in tabs attract and trap excess moisture out of the air, eliminating musty odors. Works every time. Get rid of dampness. Damfred.
Mike Pompeo on Fox News at night. Inside Iran's growing nuclear threat. And what needs to be done now to control the country. Shannon has a can't place interview tonight.
Just keep your phone and switch to a City Mobile. You can get it by ordering a free SIM card online. But once you activate it, you only have to pay for the data you need, starting at just $15 a month. There are no term contracts, no activation fees, and no credit check on the first 2 months. Get a $50 prepaid card when you switch. 5G is now included with all new data options. Switch and save hundreds. Get City Mobile.
Where can you stock up on all essential face masks? DiscountMugs.com is your source for all your non-medical face mask needs. With over 1 million masks and supplies in stock for business or personal use, we've got you covered. Elastic, athletic, unapologetic, disposable, reusable, because the print, we do that too. Prices as low as 39 cents each and ready issue. Visit DiscountMugs.com, your headquarters for safe return to work. That's DiscountMugs.com.
And new overnight, President Trump nominated for a Nobel Peace Prize. A member of the Norwegian parliament submitting his name, citing the recent peace deal between Israel and the United Arab Emirates, plus the president's other efforts to resolve conflicts around the world.
This is our chance to put the darkness of the past 4 years behind us, to end the anger, the insults, division, violence, and start fresh in America.
The Biden campaign blasting President Trump's response to months of nationwide unrest as the president accuses Joe Biden of staying silent too long on the violence and rioting. Joining us now, White House Press Secretary Katie McEnany. Katie, good morning. Thanks for being here. Good morning. A lot to get to with you this morning. We just saw that message from the Biden campaign. And I'm sure you'll be quick to point out what many are pointing out, and that the Biden campaign was silent on this for so long during the DNC and other times. But now they are speaking out against it. They're putting out a plan. How is the president countering that message of the dark days that they are pointing to under President Trump?
He's countering with action, not cheap words. We know that it is the responsibility of governors and mayors to control their streets, but look at what happened when mayors and governors came to the president for assistance. In Minneapolis, within 24 hours, there was peace on the streets. In Kenosha, within 24 hours of National Guard coming in, there was peace. This president offers action to secure our communities and keep our families safe versus the cheap words of Democrats who have been silent for far too long, as police officers like David Dorn have died and sweet little children like Legend Talifero and others.
When you look at how the president is pulling on this issue in some of the key battleground states, Kaylee, I'll put it up on the screen. Joe Biden is ahead of the president in Arizona on this issue, about even in North Carolina, although leading by about a point. But he's also ahead, Joe Biden, in Wisconsin on policing and criminal justice. So what is the president actively doing to show voters or sway voters to his way of thinking on this issue?
So we don't believe that polling is accurate. And look, when we went to Kenosha, this is a Democrat area, Democrat stronghold for decades, had not been won since Richard Nixon, the county we were in. When we went there, down the street were people lined with Trump signs for miles. People recognized, they might not want to talk to a pollster, but they recognized his action. We've offered National Guard, we've offered help to Portland, we've set up Operation Legend, and have had many, many arrests, hundreds, if not 1,000 arrests up at this point. So we're taking action because protecting our families is paramount. It's inexcusable when you have more than 50 homicides and casualties in Chicago in a short period of time.
You see what's happening in Rochester with the police chief there now joining the long list of police chiefs that have stepped away from their police forces in recent months, along with the entire command center there, Kaylee. And Newsweek takes on the president's law and order message and suggests why it may not work. It says Trump's outsized focus on the violence, which he adamantly blames on cities run by Democrats, and which I hear from you as well, Kaylee, could end up hurting more than helping, or even backfire altogether. After all, it's happening under his watch. And Kaylee, that seems to be the message from Democrats now. Hey, look, this is happening under the Trump presidency. This is happening under his leadership. How does the president respond?
Here's what's left out of that narrative. Under Obama, Biden, violent crime was going up. Under President Trump's first 3 years, we saw violent crime coming down, breaking what was a national trend. What happened is we've seen the surge in violence directly correlating with the defund the police movement. Guess what? When you defund police officers in New York and LA, you will see more violence when there are not police officers on our streets answering the phone. So this is the defund the police movement, which this president's fighting against. But a future Democrat administration, this whole entire country would look like Portland, Oregon. Not an acceptable premise.
55 days to go to Election Day, Kaylee. I want to ask you what election night might look like. The Wall Street Journal, what might look like. The Wall Street Journal this morning asking a key question. This is by the editorial board. Will courts pick the next president? If the election is close, the fallout could make Bush versus Gore look like an ice cream social. In that piece, it says if the presidential election is decided by a whisker with Donald Trump or Joe Biden leading by some thousands of votes in a few states, a court ruling could prove decisive. The pivotal jurisdictions will be flooded with Republican and Democratic lawyers, and the resulting chaos could resemble the 2000 Florida recount with smudged postmarks as the new hanging chads. What does election night look like? And there's so many different scenarios that could play out. And will we know who the next president is on election night?
Well, if Democrats have their way, we won't. Look at New York. Look at what happened in New York when they tried this mass mail-in voting that overwhelmed the system. We didn't know the victor of that race for weeks. And as the president has said before, we don't even know if we got an accurate result in that race. When you do mass mail-out voting, which is subject to fraud, don't take it from me, take it from Jimmy Carter and a bipartisan commission. It leads to chaos. And so now you have Democrats trying to break the system with this mass mail-out voting. And this president wants the American people to decide who the president is because he has a very strong record to stand on.
So what is the plan for election night then, Kaylee? I want to put this USA Today Suffolk University poll. It finds that twice as many Republicans expect to vote in person. Okay, that's 56% of Republicans to 26% Democrats. And this is as we are getting brand new information showing that Democrats are dominating the mail-in ballot requests in key swing states. Okay, and obviously we've heard from the president predicting a rigged election, massive voter fraud. So what is the election night plan, Kate?
Yeah, so when you look in terms of Democrats casting mail-in votes, a lot of Democrats are Trump supporters, I would just note, in Wisconsin, Michigan, Pennsylvania. What we want election night to look like is a system that's fair, a situation where we know who the president of the United States is on election night. That's how the system is supposed to work. And that's ultimately what we're looking for, what we're hoping for. We don't want it to be like Nevada, where you have ballots languishing in trash cans and pinned on apartment bulletin boards. That is not a workable system.
Kaylee, there's a big report out from the Congressional Budget Office looking at our budget deficit. We don't talk about it very often, but it is at unprecedented levels. And it's worth pointing out that it has hit a record $3 trillion in August, Kaylee. What is the president's plan as the economy does rebound to take this on? Obviously, it was needed with the coronavirus pandemic, and that is why we're looking at this right now. But something obviously has to be done about this as we do slowly see the economy recover. What is the president's plan?
And Sandra, it's a good question. I spoke with the president about this just before coming and joining you, and he said, absolutely, the debt is a big second-term priority of his. He wants to see unprecedented growth, and we'll see that on President Trump's watch. He had the hottest economy in modern history once. He cut taxes for middle-class and hardworking Americans, and what we saw was revenue coming into the federal government increase in 2018 and in 2019, much in the same ilk of President Ronald Reagan. So we believe unprecedented growth will go a long way in solving the problem, but it is certainly a second-term priority.
All right, I'm sure we're going to have bigger discussions on that in the days and months to come. Want to get your thoughts on the Pentagon set to announce a planned withdrawal of U.S. troops from Iraq. That hasn't yet happened, but what can you tell us we're about to hear from the president?
That's right. You are going to be hearing about this. A drawdown of troops in Iraq to 3,000 is the number that we're looking at. And look, this is the president. When he says, I'm going to end endless wars, it's not a slogan like it's been for Democrats and past presidents. It is a actual truth. It's what he wants to do. When you look across the world, he's defeated the ISIS caliphate. He met with the Iraqi prime minister, and this was a deliverable from that meeting, this drawdown of U.S. troops. And we believe Iraqi forces are trained and equipped to handle the security of their country.
Sorry, the president also being nominated for a Nobel Prize by a Norwegian. What is the president saying about that this morning? And does he expect to win that?
This is a big deal, and it's well-deserved. You cannot deny what has happened on President Trump's watch. When you look at the fact that we have a Israeli United Arab Emirates peace deal, the first time in 25 years, Serbia, Kosovo, that huge announcement of economic relations. This president's created peace around the world, drew down endless wars, and this is a president who is very much deserving of the Nobel Peace Prize.
Okay, we covered a lot. We appreciate you coming on this morning. Thank you. See you again.
Thank you, Sandra.
All right, Tracy.
Well, the Senate is expected to vote on a skinny coronavirus relief bill. So what's in it? And are Democrats on board? Plus, more than 85 wildfires raging out west. Is there relief in sight?
I'm sorry, it just broke my heart to look at it, you know, because that's your home.
Commander-in-Chief. It's more than just a job. Since taking office, President Donald Trump has rebuilt our military, repaired a broken VA, and eliminated Soleimani al-Baghdadi ISIS, the world's deadliest terrorists, brought to justice. Today, America is safer and stronger than ever. Because to President Trump, it's more than just a job. It's a sworn duty to keep America safe.
I'm Donald J. Trump, and I approve this message. I'm here with publishers clearing out. Those real people really do win. You can be that. Hallelujah. Next month, you can win $1,000 a day for life. Enter now at PCH.com.
You try to stay ahead of the mess, but scrubbing still takes time. Now there's Dawn Power Wash Dip Spray. It's the faster way to clean as you go. Just spray, wipe, and rinse. It cleans grease 5 times faster. Dawn Power Wash. Spray, wipe, rinse.
Did you know silver might be the most useful commodity on Earth? We need it to make solar power, cars, electronics, batteries, and because silver is an antiviral bactericide, demand is skyrocketing.
Silver still has the biggest run coming up.
Call Lear Capital now for this free report. Silver's biggest run. See why experts think the price of silver is set to soar.
I believe silver is on its way to a new record high.
I'll say it again, I love silver because it's affordable. And everybody can own some silver.
The report is free, but the information is priceless. So call now, then ask how you can get up to $5,000 in bonus silver with a qualifying purchase. Call 800-885-5100, 800-885-5100, 800-885-5100.
Not everyone can wear a mask all day. Share your smile with Z-Shield, the new ultra-lightweight made-in-America PPE with an innovative neck mount design. It's reusable and washable, so you can wear it comfortably all day. Z-Shield wraps your face, providing a barrier for respiratory droplets. Lets people see your face for nonverbal communication and tilts down whenever you like.
We supply frontline heroes with millions of our Z-Shield health models, but realize that some people can't wear head-mounted PPE all day. That's why we invented the Z-Shield.
Now I can hear a smile and know she's doing okay.
Try the award-winning Z-Shield today. Call the number on your screen or visit tryzshield.com right now for our best TV offer. Z-Shield has thousands of reviews and smiles from happy customers.
Z-Shield is great for our restaurant employees, especially when they're preparing and serving food. Facial expression is such a big part of everyday communication.
Be the shield at tryzshield.com.
So who climbs ladders to clean their gutters?
Dad, it can use dangerous.
Climbing ladders is too dangerous. Leak Filter puts an end to that. So how does it work? Leak Filter's three-piece system filters out leaves and debris, letting water flow through it freely.
Do we need to replace our gutters?
Great question. Leak Filter can be installed right on top of your existing gutters. For yourselves, call 833-LEAK-FILTER or go to getleakfilter.com for your free gutter inspection and estimate.
If your dry eye symptoms keep coming back, inflammation in your eye might be to blame.
Looks like a great day for achy, burning eyes.
Over-the-counter eye drops typically work by lubricating your eyes and they provide temporary relief.
These drops probably won't touch me.
Xiidra works differently, targeting inflammation that can cause dry eye disease.
What's that? Xiidra.
It can provide lasting relief. Xiidra is the only FDA-approved treatment specifically for the signs and symptoms of dry eye disease. One drop in each eye, twice a day. Don't use it if you're allergic to Xiidra. Common side effects include eye irritation, discomfort, or blurred vision when applied to the eye, and an unusual taste sensation. Don't touch container tip to your eye or any surface. After using Xiidra, wait 15 minutes before reinserting contacts.
Got any room in your eye?
Talk to an eye doctor about twice daily Xiidra.
I prefer you.
Xiidra, not today, dry eye.
It is the bottom of the hour. Here are some top stories. The seventh straight night of protests in Rochester, New York. It happened just hours after the chief of police stepped down amid the controversy over Daniel Cruz's death. Meanwhile, Dallas Police Chief Renee Hall also resigning over her department's handling of protests earlier this summer.
Joe Biden heads to the battleground state of Michigan today, where he will discuss his plan to ensure the future is made in America by all America's workers. President Trump will also hold an event in Michigan tomorrow.
Meanwhile, thousands still without power in California following another day of extreme temperatures and out-of-control wildfires there.
Yeah, we got wildfires raging up and down the West Coast, and in Southern California, the Santa Ana winds are kicking up, causing more problems for crews trying to contain those flames. Jeff Paul live for us in Monrovia, California. Jeff, give us an idea of what the conditions are like up there.
Yeah, you can definitely smell the smoke in the air, and you can tell that it's going to be another hot day today. There's very little humidity in the atmosphere, and on top of that, we now have those Santa Ana winds moving in, which is only going to make the wildfire conditions out here even worse. We're in a pretty nice neighborhood here in Monrovia, and this is what neighbors here, as they walk their dogs as they wake up, are sort of being welcomed to a fire there off to the ridges of the Angeles National Forest. It's been sparking up all throughout this morning, and that's kind of the concern is you'll see it, and it's just smoke right now, but then those winds move in, and that's when you start to see the flames. And this is just one of the many major fires burning along the West Coast. The situation in Oregon is absolutely terrible. Officials say thousands of residents have been forced to evacuate their homes. The governor there, Kate Brown, calling it an unprecedented event and a once-in-a-generation event. Hundreds of thousands of acres have been burned in Oregon, and at times things have gotten so bad even firefighters have had to evacuate. Some residents say when they saw the sky turn red, they knew it was time to go.
My neighbor across the street, he's like, you know what? We've got a baby girl. Get out while we can before anything gets bad. To see all these buildings and places that have been part of my childhood go on, hard. And I'm not ready to prepare for that.
California right now seeing the most devastation. More than 2 million acres have burned so far, and it's just sort of the peak part of the fire season. More than 20 major fires are burning throughout the state. And again, firefighters right now do not know what today is going to bring them with those winds moving in, which will only fan the flames of the many wildfires burning throughout the state. Trace?
Yeah, when you think the fire season doesn't really wind up until late October, it becomes very concerning. Jeff Paul live for us in the Riverview. Jeff, thank you.
Well, the pandemic giving a big boost to drive-throughs, fast, convenient, and distance. They're a lifeline for restaurants that have them and customers that need them. Jeff Flock is live in Chicago. So, Jeff, are drive-throughs driving sales? What do you see?
Over time, this place, Sandra, that's the Rock and Roll McDonald's right here. And of course, they spent a lot of money on this place to create a dining room. Well, that's not really happening for them right now, but the drive-thrus are saving places like McDonald's and other fast food. We look at a poll, apparently 74% of people, in a time when people are doing less of what they used to do, 74% of people say they are using drive-thrus more in the pandemic, or at least as much as they used to. And so, it's been a real saving. It kind of cuts both ways, though. Smaller mom and pop restaurants, that maybe where you used to go, but now instead you go to the drive-thru because, well, it's pretty safe. You don't have to see anybody. You don't have to really talk to anybody in person. You just drive up and get your stuff. Fast food, by the way, huge business. I mean, we're talking $240 billion business, but it hasn't been growing that much over the course of the past 5 years. I'm at the drive-thru right now. Yeah, can I get a sausage with nothing with that, please? That's all. Great, thank you.
Yeah, I mean, going out here. Orange juice.
No, that's for you. That's for you. Yeah, I know. I was going to get an RJ too, but I better get my wallet out here. Yeah, there you go.
No, that's great. No, but Jeff, this is an important thing to point out. They are doing very well. You notice the lines. That's Clark in Ontario there, I'm sure. The Rock and Roll McDonald's. Chicago, you've seen this iconic Rock and Roll McDonald's. So, Jeff, that's an interesting trend.
It is, and it makes sense. She didn't even touch my card. She had to put it into the reader and take it back. And so, totally clean. Thank you. Oh, I need to get a receipt. How am I going to expense that? Oh.
All right, it's on me, Jeff. Before they could even open up for inside dining, they opened up the drive-thrus. So they got everybody's attention. They saw the ease of it, and it's been a good thing for some of those restaurants.
And there's the dining room right there. You see, that's all shut down. The dining room shut down. Beautiful McDonald's, but this is what's saving right now.
But at least you can get that Egg McMuffin. Jeff Flock. You don't need Egg McMuffin. Look how skinny you are.
You too.
You be careful. Jeff, thank you.
Well, Joe Biden out in front of the polls, but Democrats are worried about a repeat of 2016 could overconfidence cost Biden the White House. Plus, professional football kicking off tomorrow. Will America's favorite sport get through an entire season?
Small thing like Corey Krill can make a big difference for our health. From pure Antarctic waters, krill are an omega-3 force of nature and more effective than fish oil for us. Corey Krill oil, the ocean's superior omega.
just want clear skin. Tried so-called super greens, even tried half my kitchen on my face. And did any of that work? No. Then I found Proactive.com. They have 3 different systems with clinically proven ingredients and tested by dermatologists. They got my skin clear, and their skin too. They have a simple 2-step system designed for you. Subscribe today at Proactive.com and get this free pore cleansing brush. Subscribe to consistently clear skin delivered to your door. That's Proactive.
Hello, I'm Mike Mandela, inventor of MyPillow. Just like you, I had problems sleeping. I tried every pillow out there and nothing worked. 15 years ago, I invented MyPillow. It took me 2 years to develop because I wanted to have everything you would ever want in a pillow. I made sure that you could adjust my patented fill so you could have the exact support you need as an individual, regardless of your sleep position. I also wanted a pillow that would last, so I made my pillow machine washable and dryable. I backed my pillow with a 10-year warranty and a 60-day money-back guarantee. Not only that, I do all my own manufacturing in my home state of Minnesota.
I really like the fact that it was made in the USA. I think that USA products are a better quality product. I've tried a lot of other pillows and nothing's worked like my pillow.
I've interrupted this commercial right now to give you deep discounts, not just on my pillows, but also my mattress topper, sheets, and so much more. For example, you can get body pillows regularly $89.99, now only $29.99, or my pillow dog beds for as low as $19.99 with your promo code.
I used to think that sheets were just sheets. I got the Giza Dream sheets. They are the most comfortable sheets I've ever had.
The Go Anywhere pillow is so easy to just roll up and take anywhere I want to go. Go Anywhere pillow is really comfortable. And that's what I really like. Nice and supportive and it's nice and strong.
The My Pillow topper, for the first time, has enabled me to have a cool night's sleep. I'm able to go to bed and just get rest. That's 3 inches of wonderful that's in the My Pillow mattress topper. It's just like a firm cloud.
My pillow helps me get a good night's sleep so I can do my job in the morning.
Go to mypillow.com and get deep discounts, not just on my pillows, but so much more. For example, you get body pillows regularly $89.99, now only $29.99, or my pillow dog beds for as low as $19.99 with your promo code.
For the best night's sleep in the whole wide world is mypillow.com. South Dakota, the land of the free. With our breathtaking landscapes and wide open spaces, we're a place to safely explore. And with our low taxes, we're a place to grow. We're open for opportunity and always will be. I'm Governor Christine Owen. Celebrate what makes America great and experience the great faces and great places of South Dakota.
This fall, Home Advisor can help make your home extra comfortable. From replacing drafty windows to tuning up the furnace, Home Advisor has the best pros to get your projects done right. Plus, you can book and pay right through the app. So for all your fall projects, count on Home Advisor.
We've got no free pass. Everything we have, we've earned. The unmistakable Lexus IS.
Get 0% financing with the 2020 IS 300.
Experience amazing at your Lexus dealer.
Well, with just 55 days to go until Election Day, Joe Biden is holding a 7-point lead over President Trump, according to the Real Clear Politics national average. Despite that edge, the report from the Hill suggests Democrats are worried about a repeat of the 2016 race, when Hillary Clinton also led Trump consistently in the polls, but then, as you know, lost the election. Let's bring in Juan Williams, Fox News political analyst. He's also co-host of The Five. Juan, always great to see you. So the theme here is that Biden has a 7-point lead nationally, but a lot of splitting problems out there. One Florida Democratic strategist who also runs a Joe Biden super PAC put it this way, quoted here, it's just PTSD. There's nobody actually working on this race that feels overly confident. At this point, there's a long way to go. Do you share that view, Mark?
Yeah, I think if by talking to people who are active in the campaign, I think they share that view more importantly. I think the way they put it is there is no complacency. And to that extent, they think that's a good thing because they want people to have a sense that they have to really work hard. And it's about less than 60 plus days until Election Day, November 3rd. So what would be, I think, difficult for them is the sense if they thought
and remember, this is what we now in retrospect blame the Clinton campaign for doing, is feeling so confident that you don't go campaign in states that you think you're going to win. Like,
and that's the thing, the push to get Joe Biden out of the basement and out of the campaign trail. A lot of the operatives in these states saying we need him here. It's interesting because one Democratic operative in Michigan once said that, what concerns him the most is the Trump voters. Putting it this way, quoting here, the devotion of Trump voters, the many flags and homemade signs they fly, and the level of ardor they are showing is remarkable. Those visible signs you don't usually see for a political candidate. You see those signs and go, whoa, what do you think?
Well, I think that shows up in the polls too, that the Trump voters are passionate and clearly fired up. They want to vote. So I don't think there's any question about the energy in the Trump base. No question at all. The question, for Democrats is about energy in their base and whether people are in fact equally fired up and ready to vote and passionate about Joe Biden. As you know, there have been lots of questions about level of support for Biden as opposed to level of opposition to Donald Trump. But right now, what we're seeing in the polls is that there are fewer and fewer undecided voters, Trace. Going into this pre-convention, it was like 10 to 13%. Now we're down to about 5% in the poll I saw this morning. So people have their minds made up.
It's interesting, you talk about these polls, and we mentioned the Florida poll earlier, which is really a dead heat one, but I found it interesting in the NBC Marist poll, if you put this up there, among Latino voters, President Trump holds a 50 to 46% lead over Joe Biden. Among senior voters, Joe Biden holds a very small lead above the president. Does that surprise you at all?
In both cases, you hit it, Trace. Let's start with the seniors. Seniors were a plus for Donald Trump in 2016, but I think with coronavirus and the concerns over his handling of it, it's tremendous disfavor among the American people, disapproval of how he handled it. I think seniors feel particularly vulnerable there, and I think that's to explain that one. On the Latino voters in Florida, we're talking about largely Cuban Americans in Miami. And I think they may be responding to President Trump's emphasis on what he sees as socialist instincts or feelings among Democrats. They don't want to go back towards that. So it could be that, but it's a surprise because I guess the reason you mentioned it to me is that last time, again, as with the seniors, Latinos were strongly in Hillary Clinton's camp.
Yeah, and we should note again that the state of Florida is really a dead heat at this point. Juan Williams, always good to see you, sir. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Juan, a major clinical trial of a COVID vaccine put on pause after a serious setback. So where does the race for a vaccine stand now?
It's unfortunate that it happened. Hopefully they'll work it out and be able to proceed along with the remainder of the trial, but you don't know.
I'm Greg. I'm 16 years old. I do motivational speaking in addition to the substitute teaching. I honestly feel that that's my calling to give back to younger people. I think most adults will start realizing that they don't recall things as quickly as they used to, or they don't remember things as vividly as they once did. I've been taking Prevagen for about 3 years now. People say to me periodically, man, you got a memory like an elephant. It's really, really helped me tremendously.
Prevagen, healthier brain, better life. This is our chance to put the darkness of the past 4 years behind us. To end the anger, the insults, the division, the violence, and start fresh in America. We can stop focusing on a president who thinks it's all about him, but start focusing on what's best for us. We need to get control over the virus. Donald Trump failed. Joe Biden will get it done. We need to help working families. Joe Biden's plan rewards work and makes the wealthy and corporations pay their fair share. We need to take the next step in healthcare. Joe Biden will lower premiums and reduce drug costs while still protecting those with pre-existing conditions. We need to take on climate change and protect Social Security and Medicare. We've had 4 years of a president who brings out the worst in America. Isn't it time we had a president who brought out the best?
I'm Joe Biden, and I approve this message.
Its mission is to give you true transformative sleep, so no more tossing and turning, because only Therapeutics' proprietary material adapts and responds to your body, so you get deep, uninterrupted sleep. Take advantage of our best offer of the year and savings up to $500.
When you've got hourglass damage, SafeLight can come to you.
And you'll get a text when we're on our way.
Just leave your keys on the dash or replace your windshield. It's safe, no contact service. Schedule at safelight.com.
The campaign, the message, the strategy. Inside President Trump's re-election agenda and what needs to be done to secure his bid. Sarah Huckabee Sanders has insight on the story.
Okay?
Moving thing never gets me easy.
Well, Xfinity makes moving super easy. I can charge my internet and TV service from the button.
That is.
Almost as easy as having those guys help me move.
We are those guys.
That's you?
The truck has 10 pounds.
Here we are.
Okay. It's for your service online. A few easy steps. Then it's simple, easy, awesome. Xfinity makes moving easy with 2-hour appointment windows, even on nights and weekends. Go to xfinity.com/moving to get started. Have you or a loved one taken Zantac or another heartburn medication and developed cancer? You may be entitled to compensation. The FDA just announced that it is requesting manufacturers withdraw from the market all prescription and over-the-counter nicotine heartburn medications, commonly known by the brand name Zantac. This is the latest step in an ongoing investigation of a contaminant known as MDMA in nicotine heartburn medications. MDMA is a chemical that the FDA and World Health Organization both classify as cancer-causing. Now, prior to this announcement, CVS and Walgreens pulled Zantac from their shelves, citing the link between Zantac, MDMA, and cancer. If you or a loved one have taken Zantac or another heartburn medication and developed cancer, how do you fight for the compensation you deserve? Choose the right legal team that has the experience, support staff, and resources to seek the most compensation for your injuries. Call for more information and free case review.
Selling a home is expensive and stressful. So we set out to create a better home selling experience with a network of the most successful real estate agents in America. They'll sell your home for as little as a 2% commission.
The icing on the cake is we save $12,000 in commission.
They were so stress-free, the whole process was amazing, and I'm definitely going to recommend it.
We are not a discount broker. These are top local agents that will get you the best results.
The NFL kicking off its 2020 season tomorrow while confirming that only one player tested positive for COVID-19 after the league's most recent round of testing. Since the start of training, only 24 players and staff members in the NFL have tested positive. Here's a look at Sunday's lineup of games you can watch on Fox, highlighted by Tom Brady making his debut with the Buccaneers, facing off with Drew Brees and the Saints in New Orleans. We'll be watching.
Yeah, ready for some football. Well, one drug company has paused clinical trials of its COVID-19 vaccine after a volunteer participant suffered a serious adverse reaction. AstraZeneca says the pause is routine, but does not know how long it'll last. Meantime, Dr. Anthony Fauci says it's unlikely a vaccine will be approved and ready for distribution this fall.
The projection that I've made, and I'll stick by it, is that we would likely get an answer if this is safe and effective by the end of the year, likely November, December. Is it possible? Is it conceivable that we could find out earlier, let's say October? Certainly that's possible. I think it's unlikely, but you can't rule it out.
Joining me now, Dr. Martin McCary from Johns Hopkins University School of Public Health. Dr. McCary, always great to see you. As we said earlier, AstraZeneca says the pause in these clinical trials is routine, but with so much riding on this, Dr. McCary, it just feels like a big setback, does it not?
Well, good morning, Trace. This is a routine part of any data safety monitoring board process. I've served on these boards. This was one person who got ill in the AstraZeneca trial of 10,000 patients. So we're going to look seriously at it, and the regulators are going to go to the other data safety monitoring boards and ask them to see if they have any patients with any symptoms that are remotely similar. Now, the complication is believed to be a transverse myelitis, which is numbness in the extremities. It could be shooting pain, could be a loss of sensation. Most of the time, it resolves in a matter of weeks. If that's the complication, they'll take a close look at it and ask whether or not it's related to the vaccine, whether or not it's related to the spike protein that the vaccine produces,
or is it entirely unrelated? Those are the important questions right now that we're looking at.
But it's interesting because the fact they did delay this, does it give you a sense of confidence that they're taking a very close look at the study and the participants in the study?
Yeah, this should instill a lot of public confidence in the vaccine process. You know, there's about 45,000 people right now in different phase 3 vaccine trials. This was one of those trials. It was with an adenovirus vaccine. That is a vector. In other words, it's a live virus. It's actually a chimpanzee virus that causes the common cold in chimpanzees. It does not cause the cold or respiratory symptoms in humans. We've used these adenovirus vaccines in the past. It was used for Ebola. It's used for other conditions. And so the question will be, is it related to that viral vaccine or the immune response to the spike protein?
It's interesting because you talk about confidence, and there is clearly some skepticism about vaccines. I want to put this poll up from USA Today Supplement. It says, ask when a federally approved vaccine is available, what will you do? Take it as soon as you can, 27%. Wait for others to take it, 44%. Not take it, 23%. On that, you have the CEO of Pfizer saying this, quoting here, well, in fact, the soundbite. So listen to this.
Their decision, they need to understand, will not affect only their lives, which at the end of the day, it is their judgment, but it will affect the lives of others. Because if they don't vaccinate, they will become the weakling that will allow this virus to replicate.
Yeah, your thoughts on that? We need to take this and get on board.
Yeah, well, first of all, the process is very rigorous. Having served on a data safety monitoring board, I can tell you it's entirely scientific and it's independent. We are really thinking about high-risk individuals if there's a selective approval for the rest of the remaining months of this year. So if we've seen approval in November, December, it's likely going to go to the high-risk individuals. And remember, we should not hang our hat entirely on a vaccine and on the adenoviral vector vaccines. There are protein code vaccines by GSK and by other companies. And also therapeutics are really looking good right now. There's 19 therapeutics in phase 3 compared to 7 vaccines in phase 3.
And that is encouraging. Dr. McCarry, good of you as always, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
Joe Biden is back on the road today as polls show a tightening race in a pivotal state that could decide the election. We are live from the campaign trail. Nice. This is going to be Buick?
You mean the new Alexa?
It's a Buick.
It's an Alexa? Check it out. Alexa, turn on the outdoor lights.
That's cool, but I'm pretty sure it's a Buick.
Clearly an Alexa. Alexa, give directions to the 82 room.
It's a Buick.
First ever Buick Encore GX. Available with Alexa built in.
Let's do it.
It's an Alexa. Now get nearly $3,300 purchase cash on the 2020 Encore GX. Ask Alexa. Tell me about Buick SUVs.
Hello, I'm Mike Lindell, and as you know, my passion is to help each and every one of you get the best sleep of your life. That's why I created my new Giza Dreams bed sheets. I guarantee you they'll be the most comfortable sheets you'll ever own.
With the Giza Dream Sheets, I'm getting the best sleep of my life. They are so soft and smooth. I've never slept so good.
I fall asleep faster because I'm actually comfortable.
I started by using the world's best cotton called Giza. It's only grown in a region between the Sahara Desert, the Mediterranean Sea, and the Nile River. It's ultra soft and breathable, but extremely durable, which is why I can give you my full 10-year warranty. But I didn't stop there. My Giza sheets also include full 21-inch wide pillowcases that will fit over any pillow and deep pocket sheets that will fit over any mattress. I guarantee you the first night you sleep on my sheets, you'll never want to sleep on anything else.
Go to MyPillow.com or call the number on your screen right now. MyPillow Giza Dream Sheets are available in a variety of colors and will be the softest, most comfortable sheets you will ever own. Use the promo code and get 2 for 1 low price, plus free shipping. Giza Dreams are made with the finest, most sought-after cotton in the world. Giza cotton was once reserved for only the finest fresh shirts, but is now available in Mike's Giza Dream Sheets. They feature a beautiful silky sateen weave that helps keep you cool and comfortable all night long.
With the Giza Dream Sheets, I'm getting the best rest of my life. I love my Giza Dream Sheets.
Go to MyPillow.com or call the number on your screen right now to get your very own MyPillow Giza Dream Sheets. Use the promo code and Mike will give you a very special 2 for 1 low price and free shipping. That's right, get 2 for 1 low price and If you have moderate to severe psoriasis, little things can become your big moment. That's why there's Otezla. Otezla is not a cream. It's a pill that treats plaque psoriasis differently. With Otezla, 75% clear skin is achievable. Don't use it if you're allergic to Otezla. It may cause severe diarrhea, nausea, or vomiting. Otezla is associated with an increased risk of depression. Tell your doctor if you have a history of depression or suicidal thoughts, or if these feelings develop. Some people taking Otezla reported weight loss. Your doctor should monitor your weight and may stop treatment. Upper respiratory tract infection and headache may occur. Tell your doctor about your medicines and if you're pregnant or planning to be. Otezla, show more of you.
The Martins here just realized they offered their home, so they use Rocket Mortgage to finance their next one. Need to know if your next home fits your budget and your family? Rocket can.
Firefighters hurting record wildfires on the West Coast. California seeing its biggest fire season in modern history.
So far, the Creek City has burned 143,929 acres. The containment remains at 0%.
I am confirming that Chief Siemens Series today announced his retirement. We have spoken about maintaining our restraint regarding the ongoing protests and asked all involved to remain peaceful. While the timing and tenor of these resignations is difficult, we have faced tough times before. I truly believe that we will get through this.
Bringing that troops back home. We're bringing them back home. Promoting strong workplace. Today, President Trump expected to announce the withdrawal of U.S. troops from Iraq. Overnight, the top commander in the Middle East telling men and women on the front lines that more than 2,000 of them yet to come home this month.
More on all those top stories in moments, but first, Democratic presidential nominee Joe Biden will be traveling to Michigan today for the first time in 6 months. His visit coming as the race for the White House tightens in key battleground states 55 days out. Welcome to a brand new hour of America's Newsroom. I'm Sandra Smith. Hi, Trace.
Hi, Sandra. I'm Trace Gallagher. The former VP is set to speak in Warren, Michigan this afternoon with, as Sandra said, 55 days until the election. Ahead of his remarks, the Biden campaign has released its plan to fight for workers with a Buy in America and Make in America agenda. President Trump will be stumping in the state tomorrow. 16 electoral votes up for grabs in Michigan. President Trump won the state by just over 10,000 votes back in 2016, and early voting begins September 24th.
Here we go. Peter Ducey's live in Warren, Michigan for us this morning, where Joe Biden will be speaking just a few hours from now. So, Peter, what is Joe Biden planning to do and say today?
Sandra, the Biden campaign tells us that his remarks today are going to be about promoting American labor. And it's his first trip back to the Detroit area since Kamala Harris endorsed him. That was back in March at what became Biden's last big campaign rally of the cycle. It was after Super Tuesday, but before the Michigan primary. Obviously, a lot has changed since then. They expect it's going to be smaller and more socially distanced. And this is one of the 4 states Biden said he would be visiting first as he resumed in-person campaigning. The Trump campaign, though, is out with a question of the day for Biden, and it's this. While in Michigan today, will you count the 60,000 American factories and 3.5 million jobs lost after you helped China get into the World Trade Organization? This is one of the states that Trump won with the narrowest margin in 2016, beating Clinton by just over 10,000 votes, and it is also home to one of the Biden deep stakes finalists, Governor Gretchen Whitmer. Sandra?
And on that point, does Governor Whitmer, Peter, have any COVID-19 concerns about this Biden visit today or the Trump visit tomorrow?
Yes and no. So Governor Whitmer gave an interview last night where she said that she's not concerned about Biden coming today because she thinks that his campaign takes scrupulous measures to combat COVID. But she's got big problems with Trump coming tomorrow because she says she has concerns that Trump is going to tell people coming not to wear masks at all at his rally. Biden campaign is also starting to promote 3 questions they've got for Trump about a possible COVID vaccine. Here they are. They want to know what the scientific standards are in the lab. They want to know who is going to greenlight a vaccine. They're asking who is in charge of distributing it for free. We expect Biden here this afternoon. He should be wheels up from Delaware any minute.
A true pro
Peter, saw you fighting off that bee or that fly or whatever it was as you carried on your report. Appreciate it. Thank you, Peter.
Well, lawmakers launching an investigation into Fort Hood after the deaths of more than 24 soldiers this year. The leaders of two House subcommittees sent a letter to the Secretary of the Army requesting documents and other information. The problems at Fort Hood came under the national microscope in April when 20-year-old specialist Vanessa Guillen disappeared. Her remains were found in June. Investigators believe a fellow soldier from Fort Hood killed Guillen. That man committed suicide when authorities were close to arresting him. Sergeant Elder Fernandez was found dead last month. His body discovered hanging from a tree about 28 miles from the base. Fernandez reported sexual abuse by a superior before his death. In total, 28 soldiers from Fort Hood have died this year.
Now to Capitol Hill, where the Senate is expected to vote on a scaled-down coronavirus relief package this week, but Democrats are likely to sink that measure. The GOP-sponsored bill would cost about $300 billion. Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer slamming the proposal, calling it an emaciated attempt that fails to meet the needs of struggling Americans.
Fox News alert now from Capitol Hill. The Senate Health, Education, Labor, and Pensions Committee holding a hearing on the progress in the development of the COVID-19 vaccine. Meantime, we're learning the Oxford University clinical trial has been paused after one of the participants came down with an unexplained illness. Let's get to our chief congressional correspondent, Mike Emanuel. He's live for us in Washington. Mike, what can we expect from the hearing today?
Good morning. Expect a pretty serious look at a key issue in terms of getting our lives back to normal at some point. This hearing will feature the director of the National Institutes of Health, Dr. Francis Collins, and Surgeon General Dr. Jerome Adams. A big focus will be Operation Warp Speed, work around the clock to develop, manufacture, and distribute safe and effective COVID-19 vaccines as soon as possible. And Dr. Adams is expected to try and reassure the American people the importance of getting vaccinated. A big question these days, of course, is timing of when a COVID-19 vaccine will be ready.
The projection that I've made, and I'll stick by it, is that we would likely get an answer if this is safe and effective by the end of the year, likely November, December. Is it possible? Is it conceivable that we could find out earlier, let's say October? Certainly that's possible. I think it's unlikely, but you can't rule it out.
The hope is up to 300 million doses of a safe and effective coronavirus vaccine will be available by early next year. Trace.
And like 55 days out from election, what about the politics in and around this hearing?
Politics will certainly flare up. Some Democrats are likely to take aim at President Trump's hope of a vaccine before Election Day. A member of the coronavirus task force this morning targeting some of the critics.
I think it's really unconscionable what people in public arenas are saying about undermining the idea that this is a safe vaccine production process going on. We have the safest drug production in the world.
There'll be an emphasis that the term warp speed does not mean taking shortcuts, rather it's a huge investment in research, development, and manufacturing expansion for a vaccine. Trace?
Mike Emanuel, live for us in D.C. Mike, thank you.
7 people shot and killed at an illegal marijuana growing operation in a rural town in Southern California. Investigators say so far, evidence is leading them to believe the ranch is tied to organized crime.
This residence was an obvious large-scale illegal marijuana cultivation processing center, if you will. There were multiple people on site. Obviously, this is an ongoing investigation. We believe at this time that there were multiple suspects. We are still processing the scene.
Investigators seized more than 1,000 pounds of marijuana and several hundred marijuana plants. Pot is legal in California, but an underground market still serves customers trying to avoid paying the state's high taxes.
While President Trump and the Pentagon expected to announce a plan today to withdraw more American troops from Iraq, and the Defense Department has said the president will make an announcement on Afghanistan in the coming days. White House Press Secretary Kayleigh McEnany saying this is the president merely delivering on a years-long promise.
This is the president. When he says I'm going to end endless wars, it's not a slogan like it's been for Democrats and past presidents. It is a actual truth. It's what he wants to do. When you look across the world, he's defeated the ISIS caliphate.
He met with the Iraqi prime minister, and this was a deliverable from that meeting.
Lucas Tomlinson live for us at the Pentagon. And Lucas, what do we know about the timing of this move? Good morning, Trace. Officials say it's been a long plan, but it is notable that this is the first time U.S. troops have been withdrawn from Iraq since 2016. Earlier today in Baghdad, the top U.S. commander of the Middle East, Marine Corps General Frank McKenzie, made it official. Quote, the United States has decided to reduce our troop presence in Iraq from about 5,200 to 3,000 troops during the month of September. This reduced footprint allows us to continue advising and assisting our Iraqi partners in moving out the final remnants of ISIS in Iraq and ensuring its enduring defeat. Our own Jennifer Griffin was first to report the U.S. planned to announce the drawdown last night. In recent months, U.S. forces have left a number of bases in Iraq, where they have been increasingly under attack by Iranian-backed proxy forces in the wake of President Trump ordering the assassination of the powerful Iranian general Qasem Soleimani in Baghdad. Iran responded by launching ballistic missiles against U.S. troops in Iraq days later. In March, 2 American troops and a British Army medic were killed in a rocket attack. The U.S. military responded with more airstrikes. On Friday, the president will award the Medal of Honor to the first living member of the Delta Force stemming from a hostage rescue operation against ISIS in 2015. In North Carolina last night, President Trump weighed in.
We kept America out of new wars, and we're bringing our troops back home. We're bringing them back home from all these far away places. We spent hundreds of millions of dollars. What do we get out of it?
A White House press conference is scheduled 2 hours from now, where we hope to learn more, Trace. Yeah, Lucas Tomlinson, live for us from the Pentagon. Lucas, thank you.
An ocean swimmer's biggest fear, looking up and seeing a shark fin heading your way. What happened with a great white surface near a popular beach? Plus, a new poll showing President Trump and Joe Biden deadlocked in a major battleground state. Is this a sign that the race for the White House is shifting in the president's favor? Mercedes Schlapp is a senior advisor for the Trump-Pence campaign. She will join us live with her thoughts on that next.
Remember this, very simple to remember. If Biden wins, China wins. It's as simple as that.
Veteran homeowners, why refinance now? Because record low mortgage rates have dropped even lower, and now you can save $3,000 a year. Veterans can shortcut the process with New Day's VA Streamline Refi. There's no appraisal, no income verification, and not a single dollar out of pocket. Rates are the lowest they've been in our lifetime. One call can save you $3,000 a year.
Call 1-833-859-0164.
When you've got auto glass damage, Safe Light can come to you, and you'll get a text when we're on our way.
Just leave your keys on the deck. We'll replace your windshield with safe, no contact service. Schedule at safelight.com.
Life doesn't stop for a cold. Honey. That's why there's new Dayquil Severe Honey. It's maximum strength cold and flu medicine with a soothing, honeylicious taste. Dayquil Honey, the daytime cough and evening stuff you had fever power through your day medicine. Tempur-Pedic's mission is to give you truly transformative sleep. So no more tossing and turning, because only Tempur-Pedic's proprietary material adapts and responds to your body, so you get deep, uninterrupted sleep. Take advantage of our best offer of the year with savings up to $500.
All right, I brought in Pure Max Protein to give you the protein you need with less of the sugar you don't. I'll take that.
30 grams of protein and 1 gram of sugar. Ensure Max Protein with nutrients to support immune health.
Do you have a life insurance policy you no longer need? Now you can sell your policy, even a term policy, for an immediate cash payment. Call Coventry Direct to learn more.
We thought we had planned carefully for our retirement.
But we quickly realized we needed a way to supplement our income.
Our friends sold their policy to help pay their medical bills. And that got me thinking, maybe selling our policy could help with our retirement.
I'm skeptical. So I did some research and called Coventry Direct. They explained life insurance is a valuable asset that can be sold.
We learned we could sell all of our policy or keep part of it with no future payments. Who knew? We sold our policy. Now we can relax and enjoy our retirement as we had planned.
If you have $100,000 or more of life insurance, you may qualify to sell your policy. Don't cancel or let your policy lapse without finding out what it's worth. Visit CoventryDirect.com to find out if your policy qualifies, or call 1-800-983-6200. Coventry Direct, redefining insurance.
Mike Pompeo on Fox News at Night, Insider Radio. finally get you in pain with your hemorrhoids. For serious hemorrhoid relief for your bodies, get Recticare Advance.
Well, the scary sight off the coast of Cape Cod, beachgoers spotting a great white shark just a few feet from the shore over the Labor Day weekend. Happened Sunday at Race Point Beach in Provincetown. Witnesses said the shark looked to be about 10 feet long. Kayakers in the water at the time made it safely and quickly back to the shore.
Very tight. Turning now to 2020, election officials in key battleground states say that they are noticing a surge of requests for absentee ballots by Democrats. President Trump has warned for months that expanded voting by mail because of the pandemic will lead to massive voter fraud. Mercedes Schlapp is the senior advisor for the Trump-Pence campaign. What's the campaign preparing for in terms of this, as you do see more and more Democrats signing up in that capacity? Well, good morning, Sandra. You know, the campaign's ready. We are ready for this election, and as we know, we're making sure that our voters get the information they need, whether they're going to vote early voting, whether they're going to vote in person or by absentee ballot. That's going to be the key to make sure that they know that there's different options and it's a safe way to vote. You know, our concern obviously is that the Democrats like to manipulate the narrative of basically making absentee ballots and universal mail-in voting the same term, and that's very problematic because we do have states like Florida and North Carolina where it's been in place for a long time, the absentee ballot process. You have other states like Nevada where you've seen the Democrats fundamentally change the voting system by changing the laws, pushing for universal mail-in voting, which we know is incredibly problematic, and it's something that obviously our campaign is fighting. You know, let me ask you the same question I asked Kayleigh McEnany earlier. What's the plan for election night? Considering everything that you just said and questions over what is happening in some of these states and the fact that many of these ballots might not even come in for days following the election, if President Trump were to be leading on election night, can he claim victory, or what do the days after that look like? Well, let's get to election day, but I'll tell you what we're concerned about. We're concerned about the local election officials or the county clerks. They're going to receive this influx of mail-in voting votes that they're not going to be prepared for. I mean, we've seen cases, for example, like in Patterson, New Jersey, where it was just a local election, and yet you saw 24% of those votes being rejected. And we had the judge basically rule and say, you got to do it over. And so that's what we want to make sure that we highlight, and that's why we're fighting some of these issues in the courts. Obviously, there's certain states that just do it better than others when it comes to absentee ballots. But we want to make sure that we highlight and stress that this idea of universal mail-in voting is very problematic, and I think it would cause an enormous amount of stress on these local election officials. All right, interesting. As the Wall Street Journal this morning asked the question whether or not an election will be decided ultimately by the courts. I want to put this up of the president. He's talking about using his own money to fund the campaign, as there are reports of struggling amounts of cash. Mercedes, here's the president yesterday.
If we did need, we'd have, because we have much more money than we had last time and going into the last 2 months. I think double and triple. But if we needed any more, I'd put it up personally, like I did in the primaries last time. In the 2016 primaries, I put up a lot of money. If I have to, I'll do it here.
But sort of unprecedented for an incumbent to have to promise to put up his own money for his re-election campaign, Mercedes. What happened to all the money? Well, here's the deal. Our fundraising is very strong. As we know, we have been investing in all these targeted states for over 2 years. And we also have 2 to 3 times more money now than we did in 2016. And, you know, one thing I got to tell you about Bill Stepien is he's very resourceful. He's looking at the budget, making sure that we're spending the money in the right states, in the right places, at the right time. And that is our focus right now in the campaign. Obviously, following the RNC convention, we raised over $76 million. That was $6 million more than Biden. We're in a very strong position from our ground game. I mean, you're talking about Joe Biden, who's got 55 days, 54 days to put together a ground game across in these several targeted states. They're having to spend money in places like Minnesota, Nevada, New Hampshire, places where they really didn't have to invest that much time in 2016. So I think that Biden's on the defense on this. Biden got the money coming through the door, reported record $365 million fundraising haul in August. What can you tell us about the president's campaign fundraising in August, and knowing that the actual numbers have not been released for cities? Look, we are aggressively raising money across the board. The difference is that we've got an infrastructure in place in all these targeted states, and we've got close to 2 million volunteers who are helping out. I mean, I've been on one bus tour after the other for Women for Trump, and the enthusiasm is there. They are knocking on doors at record numbers. They are making phone calls. And so I feel we're in a very strong position in so many of these states. I think Joe Biden is very concerned. It's why he had to get out of the basement and start going to these states to try to make his case, which I think he'll fail. Bloomberg's reporting, by the way, last question on that. Bloomberg's reporting that he's weighing putting up to $100 million, President Trump, of his own cash into the race. Is that something that you can confirm or that you're hearing? No, I don't have any information on that. I will tell you we are continuing to aggressively fundraise. We've got the structures in place. We've got the volunteers. We're going to be ready to go as we get into early voting and through the election. All right, Mercedes, Florida. What's happening in Florida? I'll put this up on the screen. This is the NBC News Marist poll in Florida, Trump versus Biden. It is a very close race there. What can you tell us is happening in Florida? Look, I feel like we're in a strong position in Florida. What we're seeing in our internal polls is that the momentum is on our side. In many of these targeted states where they're leading or tied with Biden, and I think Florida is one of those obviously critical states. And what we're seeing, especially in the Miami-Dade community, is that our support amongst Latinos has grown significantly. I mean, Biden is underperforming with Latinos. We have a strong support coming from the Cuban American community, the Venezuelan community. Why? Because Joe Biden has aligned himself with the far left of his party. He has adopted the socialist agenda. And the Cuban people and the Venezuelan people clearly understand the dangers of what his approach is in terms of the agenda. Plus, we want economic prosperity. Our community wants to make sure that we keep our taxes low, that we have for school choice, and that's what President Trump stands for. That's in contrast to Joe Biden, that's going to be pushing $4 trillion in terms of a tax burden, increasing taxes for over 82% of Americans. The Latino community gets it. It's why they're backing Mercedes. Before I let you go, I'll throw this up on the screen because this breaks down Latinos and seniors as far as the voting population in Florida, where, to your point, President Trump is leading with Latinos there by 4 percentage points. And Joe Biden up by a point against President Trump when it comes to seniors. Mercedes, we'll have you back soon. Thank you. Thank you so much, Tracy.
Fox News Alert now, fast-growing wildfires burning across California, and they could get worse as seasonal winds in Santa Ana, pick up and fan those flames. Plus, coronavirus cases are up, flaring up on college campuses, and the precautions administrators are now taking to keep the schools open and keep the students safe. Next.
Disappointing because I want to live here and stay on campus the whole year, and I just hope we don't get sent home.
Covering a presidential election is a sacred trust.
And we take it seriously. We never stop working to get you the information you need.
From the caucuses to the convention to election night and beyond.
We're there for you, uncovering the stories that shape the race, tracking the candidates at the moments that matter most.
Because this election will decide the fate of our nation
and the future of the world.
Democracy 2020 is in your hands.
Attention veterans. Today's all-time low mortgage rates just dropped even lower. Veterans who refi now can save $3,000 a year. With the New Days VA Streamlined Refi, there's no income verification, no appraisal, and no out-of-pocket costs. One call can save you $3,000 a year. $3,000. That's a big deal.
Call 1-844-647-6716.
We're helping change the future of heart failure. Understanding how to talk to your doctor about treatment options is key.
Today, we are redefining how we do things. We find new ways of speaking, so you're never out of touch. It's seeing someone's face that comforts us, no matter where. When those around us know us, they can show us just how much they care. The first steps of checking in, the smallest moments, can end up being everything. There's resources that can inform us, and that spark can make a difference when we use it to improve things. Then that change can last within us. When we understand what's possible, we won't settle for less. The best thing we can be is striving to be at our best.
Managing heart failure starts now with understanding. Call today or go online to understandhf.com for a free HF handbook.
Can the daily recommended servings of fruits and vegetables fit into just 6 capsules? Yes. We start by sourcing organically grown whole fruits and vegetables. We ensure they are picked at peak ripeness. All of our produce is third-party tested for pesticides, heavy metals, bad bacteria, and nutrients. They are then washed, cut, and put through an advanced vacuum cold process which removes the water using pressure. This maximizes the nutritional value while preserving the color, smell, and taste of the fruit or vegetable. The freeze-dried food is then ground into a fine powder without adding any additives, fillers, or extracts. These powdered foods are then mixed in our proprietary blend and encapsulated, locking out air and moisture. The capsules are then bottled and shipped directly to our customers. Balance of Nature is now offering 35% off on any new preferred order. Call 1-800-2468-751 or go to balanceofnature.com and use discount code FOXNEWS.
Apps are used everywhere except work. Why is that? Is it because people love filling out forms? Maybe they like checking with their supervisor to see how much vacation time they have. Or sending corporate their expense reports. I'll let you in on a little secret. They don't. By empowering employees to manage their own tasks, Paycom frees you to focus on business of business. To learn more, visit paycom.com.
Welcome. Today's discussion will be around sliced meat.
Moms want healthy and affordable. Blended Crust Premium. No added hormones either. It's the only protein I really melted with.
Blended Crust Premium, fresh look, same great taste.
I always thought it was me, that I was the reason all these diets never worked.
This is genuinely not a temporary fix. There's some serious psychology behind it.
I've been on it for 4 months now. I've lost 27 pounds and I feel like I got my life back.
Visit noom.com and lose the weight for good.
Every American wants the dollars to work as hard as they do. However, since 2000, the buying power of the dollar has dropped by over 31%. That means a dollar is only worth about 68 cents now compared to 2000. Had you owned gold, your value would have increased over 550%. And owning gold is easy. With Roslyn Capital, a trusted leader in helping people acquire precious metals, gold bullion, Lady Liberty gold and silver proofs, and our premium coins can help you preserve your wealth. Call Roslyn Capital at 800-630-8900 to receive your free Roslyn Guide to Gold, Gold and Precious Metals IRA, and silver brochures. With Roslyn, there are no hassles, no gimmicks, and we have the fastest shipping around. Dollar down, gold up. Pretty clear. Make gold your new standard. Call Roslyn Capital today at 800-630-8900. 800-630-8900. That's 800-630-8900.
Bottom of the hour now, time for some top stories. Wildfires burning across California as the state sees its biggest fire season in modern history. Fire crews say the situation could get much worse in the coming days, saying powerful winds in the forecast could whip up the flames further.
More than 500,000 children in the U.S. have tested positive for the coronavirus since the virus took hold. That is according to a new survey by the American Academy of Pediatrics. About 70,000 of those cases were reported in the last 10 days of August.
And New York's bravest chased down a man who slugged an elderly woman walking near their firehouse. It happened in Brooklyn, a neighborhood there in broad daylight. Officials said the man pedaled up behind the woman on a bike and punched her in the mouth, knocking her down. When firefighters saw what happened, they chased down the suspect, tackled him to the ground, and held him until police arrived.
Back to California now, where strong seasonal winds are the biggest fear as the state struggles with a record-breaking fire season. The Diablo winds in the north and the Santa Ana in the south could keep the fire danger high. Meteorologist Adam Kloss joining us now. So Adam, when are the winds expected to finally die down?
Sandra, we're not looking at those winds calming down until maybe the weekend, which means we've got several more days of this. And even then,
that region. That continues to be the case. This is our satellite radar. We currently have a system kind of move through the mountain states, but it has left the coast completely dry. So dry weather obviously continues to really haunt some of these areas with those winds that allows this fire to continue to grow. On top of that, the heat remains incredibly intense. These are well above average temperatures from the desert southwest stretching all the way up the coast of California. Fairly widespread forecast highs again today, running back up into the middle 90s. It's not the 110 degrees we saw a couple of days ago, but this is still above